Kanye is right in what he is saying. The true Hebrew of the Bible look like us. The royal house of Judah was sold by other tribes to the Ashkenazi slavers. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. Deuteronomy 28 talks about how we got here as God's people. And it also says that we will awaken in the land of our captivity. And then if you go to the book of Revelation, you know, God himself is talking about those who lie and say they are Jews, but are really not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. He says that he is going to come and make them worship at our feet, and the whole world will know that he has loved us. Oh, you guys, I have Maryland up there for a reason. Not because I'm an idolatrous, but because I dug deep some years back into Marilyn's story and how she came to be, you know, Marilyn Monroe, and just how she got her start, and, you know, her story, and, you know, being able to read through her story, and also being able to deep dive into other stories that people weren't or hadn't told publicly about Marilyn, and about how she was the first presidential model MK Ultra slave. And there have been many since her, and they symbolize the presidential model with diamonds. And of course Marilyn was beautiful. She's absolutely beautiful, but generally, you know, they look for someone who is broken or easily broken, you know, some child that comes from a dysfunctional background, and, you know, poor, usually not very educated, that they can dangle, you know, the riches of the world at and sell dreams too. And that's exactly what, you know, happened with Marilyn. And, you know, they've kept her alive, you know, in the media, you know, with her story. And there's a new story out called Blonde, or a new movie out called Blonde. I haven't watched it yet, because the more I know about it, the more difficult it is for me, you know, to watch. When I was just a fan, which is just short for, you know, fanatic, and which is another sort of spell that they cast in media, it's harder for me to watch her story now. I watched something a couple of years back about the hours after her body was discovered, and how she was driven around to these different places where these different people were, for the defilement of her body. You know, it lets me know how wicked people really are. You know, a lot of the men that Marilyn was married to were handlers, you know, who controlled every aspect of her life. And, you know, it's a whole thing, and it is still going on, and they're doing it, you know, different ways now with the new artists. They've gotten very more technologically advanced, you know, with ways of splitting and fracturing the mind. Which brings me to Kanye. I want to talk about Kanye. The Lord has placed in my spirit for so many days now, it's gone into weeks now, to make you know, a quick video about Kanye. And I've had videos up about Kanye before, and I took them down when I was deciding what I really wanted to do to my YouTube page. And I used to talk about, you know, a lot of things that were going on in the industry, particularly with him, you know, going all the way back to the whole thing where he got on stage and was calling, you know, Jay-Z out, and, you know, then putting him back into rehab. You know, rehab is just another name for reprogramming center. And I remember praying for him. Then there were some things that had happened with Taylor Swift and Kanye, and Kim got involved. And I'm not into celebrity scandal. All I know is what God speaks into my spirit and what he tells me to pray for and pray about. And since I was very young in my walk with Christ, God has always had me pray for people who were in prominent positions, and celebrities were included, because he understood that not everybody prays for them, or prays for them as one brother or sister to another, because they think because they have money, they have peace, and they really don't have worries or issues or problems. But they don't have any worries or real issues or problems, and so very rarely do people think to pray for them. And when they're in these industries, they're pretty much isolated from real family and real friends, and they're put into partnerships and relationships that are arranged. A lot of it is arranged because of bloodline. The other reason is for money. You need to put together a package that sells. And so, God had impressed upon me to really pray for Kanye. Kanye, when he came out of rehab, he wasn't the same. They brought him out with the blonde hair, which is an ode to Marilyn Monroe. Most celebrities, when they're getting ready to go from one point in their career to the next up, and they pay homage to Marilyn Monroe, it's why the blonde hair all the time. It's a signal to those in the know that this one is ours now. He's a part of us. He belongs to us. She's a part of us. You can look it up. You can Google all the celebrities who dressed up like Marilyn Monroe and all the celebrities who at some point, come out with the blonde hair. She was the first. And so I remember when Kanye was in rehab and his trainers / handler, and I'm going to include a video with this guy. He's a handler, and he was telling Kanye, do you want us to put you back into the institution and have you drooling? Again, this is a trainer saying this, but this trainer also works for the military on special projects of giving soldiers certain concoctions of things to enhance ability, to make them be able to stay up for prolonged periods of time and go without sleep for prolonged periods of time. Sort of like DARPA and the Super Soldier Project, but not DARPA. I don't think he works for DARPA, but he's apparently been a trainer to many others who were under the mind control program. Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, several others, but I'll include the video.
How drugs and food affect muscular performance. And
when you say drugs, are that like performance enhancing drugs, or are they
all kinds of drugs?
Oh, right, okay.
So working for the military, I wasn't governed by the same laws that the typical person was, so I could look at the impact of certain drugs that are not everyday things. So we looked at a drug called modafinil, which was for narcoleptics. So if you give a soldier this drug, how long could they stay awake for without having any health detriment?
Is that used now as one of these brain drugs? I've heard the name before somewhere.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. Modafinil, it will keep you awake, but it's not a stimulant.
Really?
So if a special forces person has to stay awake for 3 nights waiting for the right opportunity to do whatever they have to do, we could give them modafinil and it would keep them alert. I did research on a drug called acetazolamide, which is for use at high altitude so you don't get altitude sickness.
Then let's have a conversation. But you ain't gonna send Harley Pasternak, Puff Daddy, Meek Mills, Kim Kardashian, none of the usual suspects and get me to stop talking. You're going to have to take my life. I don't care if you Black Mirror me. I don't care if you do some of the alternative, what the thing was, show me talking, saying somebody didn't say. I don't care if you have what you do. You're going to have, And by the way, and if you take my life, there's going to be some college kid, some young Ye, some young Pac that's going to even go harder. Y'all thought George Floyd was going to send it up. If you took my life right now, you're going to see something you never saw. So we might as well have a conversation.
But I don't want to spend too much time on him. I really want to talk about Kanye and really what a testament to the power of God that we're seeing. Kanye is right in what he is saying. The true Hebrew of the Bible look like us. The royal house of Judah was sold by other tribes to the Ashkenazi slavers. It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. Deuteronomy 28 talks about how we got here as God's people. And it also says that we will awaken in the land of our captivity. And then if you go to the book of Revelation, you know, God himself is talking about those who lie and say they are Jews, but are really not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. He says that he is going to come and make them worship at our feet, and the whole world will know that he has loved us. We got into this situation by mixing with, people that served other gods, and God didn't want us drawn away by our own thoughts, lusts, desires, and imagination for serving strange gods. Because when you serve strange gods, you do strange things and you become a strange person. And then you find yourself a stranger, afar off from God. And so, the whole 400 years of slavery, we've been through that cycle before. We were in it in Egypt, and we are in it here in the United States. Most of the royal house of Judah is here in the United States. They're in some, project building somewhere, or some borough or community, and they don't even know who they are, but God is waking them. He is waking them up, and he is using people like Kanye. And think about him what you will, good, bad, or indifferent. He's been through a lot of things. And again, it's a power to the testament of God. I mean, he was literally linked up with a whole coven. And he's still not free from that, but God is still delivering him, and God is not through with him. I mean, he's been surrounded by all sorts of sorcery and witchcraft and divination and mind control and all manner of things, and he is willing to put it all on the line, not just with word, but with deed. And if you really listen to what he's saying, he's telling you what he can tell you, without just putting himself under the guillotine. And I have a video on my YouTube. It's in my videos. It says the true Hebrew Israelites are black, and it's a compilation of videos from people who are not black, that don't look like us, telling you, because sometimes it takes somebody other than your own people to tell you and wake you up. You don't want to go and read a history book. But Kanye was willing to risk, billions of dollars. Kyrie Irving tried to stand with him for a little bit, but they buck breaking him, just like they trying to do Kanye. But God is on his side, and he's using him and his voice, and he's going to use many others like him to wake up his people, because we got to go. We can't stay in Babylon. Just like the first Exodus, there's about to be a second Exodus. And so, you better pray about what you see, and don't just take what they're saying in the media at face value. Research, learn, pray, ask the Holy Ghost to show you. But we need to pray for Kanye. He's gonna make it out of this. He's gonna make it through this, because God is on his side. And we probably gonna see some more things in the media that they try to put out to make him even look crazier. They said when we get through, draining his pockets and cutting off his resources, he'll shut up. But all it takes is for us to stand together. If we say, okay, if XY company don't want to sponsor him, we won't purchase from that company. If we say that if Kyrie can't play, and I don't really even watch sports or am interested in sports, but if Kyrie can't play, then we won't be watching. We won't be buying any tickets. If those on the NBA team will say, well, if he can't, if you do it to one, you do it to all of us. If he ain't playing, ain't none of us playing. And I guarantee you, in the span of 24 hours, you'll get what you asking. and then some, because that's what they do. They try to hit us in the pockets and, where it hurts and, ruin our reputation. But if these owners didn't have anybody to step out on the court, what would they own? So, your power is in your money. Your power is in your unity. A house divided against itself won't stand. It's time for the true people of God to stand up and take a stand. We not those of old who were in captivity. We still in the land of our captivity, but we got it's a different mentality. God is on our side. We can't fail. We won't lose. Pray for Kanye. Pray for all of those who are in that wicked industry. It's more than him that are suffering, and God is exposing a lot of things. One of the things Kanye is concerned about most is his kids, and I understand that. And so we have to pray for these children of the parents in this industry, because things are happening to them. Things are not as they seem. You got to be able to see through the veil, the smoke and the mirrors, and use your discernment. Plead the blood. But more than that, we just gotta pray. We gotta pray for each other. We gotta pray for our country, our nation. We gotta pray for, the power of God, to really, move in the land. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I didn't want to make the video too long. Again, if you what Kanye is saying is true. If you read the book of Enoch or you read the book of Jasher, you will see that there were only 8 generations from Adam to Noah. Only 8 generations from Adam to Noah. Noah was the grandson of Enoch, and when Noah was born, he looked all the way different. He didn't look like the people of the land. In fact, his skin was white, his hair was white, like not white in ethnicity, but white as in albino white. And he had bright eyes that shone, like they were so bright they would have to put a veil over them, kind of like a foreshadowing. But anyway, the way he looked was a symbol that God was going to use him, to do something great and powerful. And during the time that Noah was born, the Bible says that giants were in the land, the Nephilim, because the angels of God had come down and intermarried and intermingled with the daughters of men, and giants were born unto them. Which is why when Noah was born, his dad didn't even think that Noah was his son. He took him to, his dad, Lamech, took him to Enoch's house, because he thought that maybe his wife had been contaminated, that one of the giants had gotten to her, that one of the Nephilim had gotten to her. And Enoch explained, the prophet of the Lord, the great man of God, the one who was taken up without having to see death. He said, no, the way he looks is a sign. So these people were so shocked at Noah's skin color. It lets you know that they had never seen that skin tone before. Again, there were only 8 generations between them, and we saw how the flood came, and Noah and his 3 boys, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, and Noah's wife were the only people that were spared. So when they talk about anti-Semitism, really they're talking about the Semitic people. And the Semitic people, the Semite comes from the name Shem, but it's not Shemitic now anymore through being passed down and translated. It's Semitic instead of Shemitic. So, but they were a dark-skinned people. It's us. It's been us. We really are the only people with our own God. So do your research, pray, ask the Holy Ghost about this, and stand for something.